Shalom to the nation of Israel. This is Barazal coming in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rachak Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. So I'm just going to continue on in the lesson about the martial law. And you can go back into the word martial just to get a recap. Right, so martial means warlike of or pertain to war, right? That's where the name Mars comes from. That I think is a Greek god, or Salak, Roman god. It says right there, Roman god, right? What else? See right here, relating of or relating to the armed forces of persons befitting a warrior. It has everything to do with war, pretty much. War and military. And then law, right? So, let's go into the word law. Ordinance, rule prescribed by authority, regulation. So, warlike rules prescribed by authority, regulation, right? Pretty straightforward. So, like right now, like I live in Canada, and everyone knows about the trucker protests and stuff like that. I think it's been 2 weeks now that's been going on. And like I was saying in the other video, like the PM, the Prime Minister, he's only going to allow this for so long. Like people think just because you go, that's what the thing with these protests. Now, it's all prophecy that they're doing these protests and there's sedition amongst men and, they will not regard the kings, right? This is all prophecy. But put that aside. Like these people think that doing the protest is gonna like the prime minister's just gonna like fold like a deck of cards, right? But all power to them because they're pushing the prophecy. That means things are speeding up. But the point is that what I want to make is that he's not gonna get softer. If anything, he's gonna get harder, right? The heat's gonna turn up, right? That's why Apostle Tark named this year the year of turn up, right? If Yahweh Bashem Shai turning up. So the Prime Minister, he's not gonna back down. Especially because the whole world is watching him, his whole government's watching him, right? He wants to be reelected. So if he seems weak, right? Because people are protesting, some people are protesting, right? It doesn't look good as a king, right? So he's gonna initiate some certain things that are gonna happen. And what I was talking about is martial law. That's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. So I'm just going to read some scriptures, then I'll show a video actually of him basically saying he's going to do that, right? Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, basically what I just said, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. That's how important the elect are. That Yahweh Hashem Shai is going to speed up the days just to protect the elect. Right? But the tribulation is talking about is Jacob's trouble. And we're in the midst of that tribulation right now. We're in the midst of it right now. So let me just go to that article so you can get a better perspective. Right? So it's basically a bunch of videos. Right? I bumped into this one. Right? He's not playing around. You guys think he's going to back down. I believe that's the video. You just got to wait for it to load. Unfortunately, Slovakia, just bear with me.
Forces against civilian populations in Canada or in any other democracy is something to avoid having to do at all costs. That's why the solution right now is focused on police forces, enforcing the laws that exist, protecting public order in the way that they are trained to do in a...
Okay, so he's saying that now they're not going to use military force, right? They just said at all costs. It doesn't mean they won't do it. He's just basically saying, well, I don't want to do it. It's not something I want to do. We're going to try to avoid it at all costs. So when he does do it, he's going to make it seem like people forced him to do it, right? Now, he's saying, as far as in the video, he's saying that they're using the police force, right? Right? The police force to basically keep the peace, so to speak, right? But it's already, the whole joke is that people don't understand the martial law has already been happening. I mean, I don't know about other countries. I know in other countries it's been happening, but it's already been happening here. They've just been using the police, right? They've been using the police, and actually some provinces, I think the army was initiated on the streets trying to vaccinate people, you know, but you know, which is their program, right? They're going door to door to check if people were took the what's the word I'm looking for? The Beetlejuice, right? They took that thing, but my point is that the police that they're using, they're acting as they're enforcing martial law, right? Because if you go back to the word, the law means ordinance, rule prescribed by authority, regulation. It doesn't say army. It doesn't say it has to be the army. That's when it gets more extreme. That's when the martial law gets more extreme, is when the army comes in. But we're already in the midst of martial law. We're already in the midst of it, right? Because it says warlike. Okay? And then you want to go to the word war. What does the word war mean? All right, it says large-scale military conflict. Oh, it said warlike, so like war. Difficulty, dispute, hostility, fight, combat. Okay, there's definitely this dispute going on. There's a lot of difficulties going on. There's hostilities going on, right? Right. Here it says the wage of armed conflict against an enemy. And a lot of these truckers have weapons, because not all of them are Canadians. A lot of them are Americans too. Right? Right here. An active struggle between competing entities. That's what's going on right now, is it not? A concerted campaign to end something that is injurious. And this protest or blockade is very injurious to the government because they're losing money, right? So they want to end it, right? So my point is that he's saying that at all costs they don't want to deploy the military. Okay, fine, because the military is more extreme. That's what people don't understand. This is like a mild version of martial law. It's a mild version. Once the military comes in, then it's going to get serious. Right? It's going to get very serious.
Predictable, progressive approach that doesn't skip any steps, that works to conclude this situation peacefully.
Right, which is bullshit. Which is bullshit, because something's most likely is going to happen. Right? Whether it comes from this blockade or another scenario that happens down the road, that's going to force him to initiate the military, because he tried to avoid it at all costs, but now he can't because he was forced, because something happened that caused him, forced him to do it, right? But the military is the extreme version of martial law. Right now, we are still in the midst of martial law. Police are doing things, right? They're regulating authority, right, over the people, right? Or they're regulating regulations over the people. So it's already happening. It's just going to get more extreme. That's why Apostle Tahar, was Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ramlab, or Apostle Rakah, they always talk about, I think it was Apostle Gabar, he always talks about gradualism. Esau does it gradually. He lets you get used to something. He takes his time with it, right? He give you a little bit here, you get used to it. It's just like cooking a frog in hot water. You don't turn the heat hot right away because the frog's going to jump out. He's going to jump out right away because he feels the heat. He's like, oh, I need to get out of here. But he's going to turn the heat slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly. By the time frog even realizes it, he's cooked. So that's what's happening here. You notice the police are getting more tighter and tighter and tighter. And then eventually it's going to be a point where it's like, oh, we can't use the police anymore. They can't handle the situation. We got to bring in the army, right? The military. So, right, so let's just get back to the scriptures. So now we're at Revelation. So it's already happening. It's already happening. Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Right? So some brothers are going to be put into prison. And some might die in prison. That's why it says faithful unto death. Some of you might die. They might threaten you with your life. Right? And the reason why that is going to happen, right, the midst of Jacob's trouble, that great tribulation, is because they're going to try and give you the charagma, right? They're going to try and give it to you. So that's why it's going to be unto death, because it doesn't get to a point where getting that charagma in your arm, right, whether it's your arm or your leg, your butt cheek, your head, your brain, or your right hand or your left hand, right? It's going to be like, if you don't take this, we're going to kill you. Right? If you don't take this, we're going to kill your family. If you don't take this, you can't eat. You can't eat, right? You can't basically live, have that the so-called standard of living, right? So you have to resist the devil, which we know who the devil is, the red man. You got to resist him unto death, because he might kill you, right? He might threaten your life and say, well, if you don't take it, we're gonna kill you. It's like, well, so be it, right? I already know where I'm going. You think I'm afraid of dying, right? Because we know how it works. You're going back to the spiritual realm to see how much you'll shy. And he said he'll give you a crown of life. That means you pass the test. Because that's what he said. You'll be tried because it's a test. It's a test. Right? Okay, so now we go to Revelation. So we just do it quickly. Revelation 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Yeah, so you can see Trudeau, he's talking very slow, he's calm, he's like, we just want to use the police, we don't want to, we want to avoid the military at all costs, right? But the thing is, they're on a what's it called? They're on a schedule, right? They know Yahushua is coming back with the angels. They know. So they have to get things done by a certain time, right? It's not like they don't believe Yahushua is coming. They know he's coming. So they're trying to get everyone with the charagma by a certain time, because if they get everyone the charagma on the planet, therefore Yahushua can't come back, because he's only coming back to save the elect, to take them out of here. So if the elect are not here, so to speak, if Esau somehow in his twisted mind offset the prophecies and gave all the elect the charagma, then Yahushua has no reason to come back here. That's how twisted Esau's mind is. He actually believes that he can do that, right? So my point is that they are on a schedule, right? So if they're getting behind schedule, they're going to speed up things. They're going to turn up the heat. So like I said, the devil's going to come on. I'll just read it again. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he had a short time. So this wrath is going to increase. So yes, now he's using the police to initiate his martial law, right? A lower version or a softer version of martial law. When it becomes extreme, because he's running out of time, then he's going to initiate the military. They're going to do things to force them to initiate the military, right? So now we're gonna go Second Ezra's. Second Ezra's 15 and 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that's already happening. That's been happening since all these lockdowns, right? But it's gonna get worse, right? Right, and I don't know how this blockade's gonna end up. I don't know what's gonna happen, but like I know a lot of those truckers have weapons. So not all those truckers are Canadians. A lot of them are Americans, right? And there's police down there right now too. So something could happen would force them to shoot at each other, right? Because you know how Americans are with their weapons. Who knows? We have to see what happens. Okay, Slack. Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right now, that's what's happening. They're not regarding their kings. They're not regarding the prime minister. They don't care about him. They don't take him seriously. That's why they're down there blocking off basically taking control over that province or city, right? They don't care about the prime minister. They don't care that he's a prime minister. To them, he's a buffoon. That's the way they're treating him, right? Don't regard him as a king. Right? Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? And that's already happening. That's already happening on a lower scale. During the lockdowns, it did happen, but it's going to happen where this is going to be permanent. So they're basically testing out things. They test out things, see how people react, and then, they get their data, and then they make a more refined version of that, right? For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And the pride of, the prime minister right now is pretty high, right? His pride is what's causing this to be prolonged, because he just doesn't want to just accept the fact that, you're being extreme, because other countries are not doing what he's doing, and everyone's good there. Everyone's good, but it's all prophecy anyways. But outside of that, everyone's good in those countries that, have released the mandates and stuff like that, Over here, it's a little different. But because he doesn't want to do it for whatever his reason is, that pride, right? Now, the city's being troubled right now. Now you have truckers in there blocking off the whole city, blocking off all the, it's causing problems, right? The houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid, right? So that part hasn't happened yet, but we'll see what happens. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that lack of bread, that's already happening, right? Because, the truckers are not working, basically, so no food's really coming in, right? Because of the mandates that they have in the truckers, so a lot of them are not, they didn't get that, I guess you want to call it, the injection. They didn't get any injections. So less food's coming in, therefore the storehouses, the grocery stores are going to be less full, less packed. Now, the grocery stores do have some saved up from before because they kind of knew this was going to happen, but that's going to run out. Then eventually, the grocery stores are going to be bare, and it's going to be harder and harder to get things. And that's already starting to happen in Canada. But I know it's already been happening in the States. I've seen videos, right? Especially in Texas. So it's already happening. But people are doing, not a lot of people are aware of it because they're getting distracted. So now we're going to go to, so I have a lot of scriptures, but we're going to go to one more. Second Ezra 15:37, and there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon earth. And they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. Right? So when Prime Minister says he's had enough, whether he chooses to initiate the military or something happens where he's forced to initiate the military, people are going to see the wrath, right, of the red man. They're going to see it because he doesn't play around. When he comes with that sword, he doesn't joke around. It's not a joke. It's not a game. And his wrath is really Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's wrath, right? The Lord, our power, Yahweh, is angry. So he's going to use his sword, which is the red man, right? I'm not going to say his full name because they might cut the video, but they use the red man to initiate his wrath because that's his sword. So when that happens, people are going to be afraid. Then that's when they're going to start calling on Yahweh, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, right? By that time, the Most High has removed himself. That's why he said, seek me while he be found, roughly paraphrasing. So you're supposed to seek Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai when you can find him, right? Because eventually he's going to remove himself. And only the ones that have been begging and pleading and crying and working and suffering on his name are the ones that are going to be saved, which are the elect and the multitude. The ones that weren't doing that are going to be destroyed. So I hope this lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect, right? That pushes his word and truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth. To the next video, shalom.